After living in the Philippines for a few weeks or months, you soon realize the Philippines is like no other country. And you realize that some things only happen in the Philippines that will leave you scratching your head or just in awe, complete shock and awe. On Reddit, Bebe asks, drop your all-time favorite only in the Philippines moments. The ones that make you laugh, facepalm, or just stare in disbelief. Karaoke at a funeral that went until 4 a.m. because the dead uncle loved the song My Way. Tricycle driver refused your 100 peso note at 7 a.m. because no change yet, sir. Seen a jeepney with 19 adults, 7 kids, 2 goats, and 1 guy hanging off the back playing Mobile Legends. We've all seen them. Precisely. When I read these examples to you, if you've never been to the Philippines, you might think it's a complete make-believe or lie, that real things like this does not occur in another country. However, trust me, no matter how ridiculous the story seems or the example, it actually happens in the Pinoy land. Juan Guanga says, having to wait 3 hours to get a document verified at a government office because they are having some kind of event where all the staff has to sing and dance. I saw them shut down a ferry station because they ordered Jollibee's fried chicken and everything was at a complete standstill. They had picked every bit of meat and marrow off the bones. Civil says, attended a wedding with 1,200 guests. When it ended, the final song played was Like a Virgin. I was like, WTF? Nate says, homeless children. The sheer numbers I've not seen anywhere else. Mute Cook says, no change for a 1,000 peso at 7-Eleven, and the receipt process, multiple pieces of paper stapled together and then handed several receipts for a small transaction, and also, it's finally my time to pay, and there's a long-ass line behind me, but all 3 clerks just start working on different tasks behind the counter. Don't get me wrong, the employees are usually really polite, but there is zero efficiency in these places. Precisely, the way that these 7-Elevens, convenience stores, Family Mart, or whatever supermarket you are at operate makes you wonder if they purposely try to be as inefficient as possible. Imagine taking a group of teenagers and simply dropping them off at a random location without explaining anything. That's what it seems like. Redundant tasks that make no sense is one of the most obvious setbacks, or at least processes that make no sense in the Pinoy land. American KL says, I was flying back to the USA, so we stayed at Hilton Conrad the night before leaving out. We took one of our nieces so that she could see a bit of Manila, swim in the pool, buffet breakfast, all the fun stuff that you like to share with family. Anyway, when we checked in, I gave her the key card so that she could have the whole experience of getting us into our room. We walked into the elevator and I told her that we are room 583. She pressed 5, she then pressed 8, and you can guess the final button push. We still laugh about it today. At least this one makes sense. Many people have not been inside of an elevator, believe it or not. They live in the province and rarely go into the city. And when they do, rarely does a place have an elevator, usually just an escalator that doesn't work at all. So this one is laughable for sure, but totally understandable. This explains why whenever you are at a mall or any place that has an escalator, you will see 1, 2, or a group of people, perhaps a family, not sure of exactly how to step onto an escalator. It is comical to us, but you have to imagine never seeing an escalator in your life or knowing how to deal with it. Road says, I was staying in Bicol province, hotel that offered free breakfast to guests. Every morning, the waiter got my order wrong. On the 4th day, I asked the waiter to show me what he had written down. After he took my order, he refused to show me. So, I immediately called the restaurant manager and explained the situation. The manager grabbed his small notebook for taking orders, and it was just scribbles. The waiter did not know how to read or write. He was just a busboy standing in for a waiter who was not there. This story was shared before. If you are a regular listener, you will have heard this one before. It's definitely a believable story. Specific month says, went out on a motorcycle, and as I'm coming back home, I see my neighbor walking away from my property with something that looks like a huge long lacrosse racket carrying away a large ripened papaya. By all means, take the bananas, but leave my papayas. Someone stealing is not something that's shocking in the Philippines. Savage says, asking for 20,000 pesos, but then saying, I'm shy. Really? Wish you had been shy when you asked me for the money. Carbon GTI says, only in the Philippines do drivers speed up instead of slowing down when a pedestrian is on the crosswalk. Almost got hit twice. LOL. I forgot, in the Philippines, there's no such thing as a right of way. Precisely, this is because they want to scare you. They want you to stop your walking process so they can cross the zebra crossing. Yes, this happens all the time. Owen Counter says, security tried to confiscate a coconut from me at the airport because there is liquid in it. I laughed so hard they let me go with the coconut. Another airport story. I was traveling with my family at Christmas to Cambodia. At the airport, a drug-sniffing dog came sat down by my bag. The dog handler walked up and asked, banana bread? And yes, there was banana bread in the bag. MT Bowler says, 4 girls to check me out at Landmark. One scans my items, one packs it, one processes my credit card payments, and the last one confirms payment receipts and staples it to the bag. LOL. It's not too terrible though. They're normally cuties, and I've scored a few numbers talking to them. Sure you have. Yes, you scored those numbers, but I guarantee you they did not respond to you. Engineering Basic says, yeah, the overstaffed stores is something I only notice in the Philippines. I mean, jobs are hard to come by in the Philippines, so I'm glad the shops are employing more people to give them some kind of income at least. In the States, it's the opposite. Some places will hire one person to run the entire store during a shift. That is because, my friend, people in the States typically are capable. Juan Chai King says, when ordering fast food chicken drumsticks, you get some unidentified parts of chicken, like half chicken thigh. Precisely. In the Pinoy line, not only does the food suck and terrible and expensive for what you get, the pieces of meat that you get are usually unidentifiable because what they do is cut the normal pieces in half or 1/3 and leave the skin and the fried breaded section to make it seem like a whole piece. Most of the time, just simply eating fried dough, fried flour, or simply skin, very little meat on any of these pieces. Vast difference between Thailand and the Philippines when it comes to food. Ben Sure says, a local guy, not my friend, tried to borrow money from my local friend. Reason being he wasn't able to pay his rent and electricity bills for the month. But just 1 week ago, he borrowed 40,000 pesos from SSS to celebrate his wife's birthday, which he has to pay back to SSS with interest amounting to 60,000 pesos over 5 years. When my local friend asked him why he did that instead of saving up and paying his bills, his reply was, 60,000 pesos over 5 years is really cheap. That's because they have no business sense or responsibility when it comes to finances. Molasses Fluffy says, going to my favorite restaurant in Manila, and as I sit down in the outdoor patio, I notice everyone was eating either a salad or cheeseburger and fries. Everything else on the menu was not available. I ordered a burger and fries and noticed that when I bite into my first fry, there was a familiar taste and consistency that I couldn't put my finger on. The couple next to my table bit into their fries and were like, these are McDonald's fries. I'm 99% convinced that they ran out of fries and bought a bag of frozen fries across the street at McDonald's. Went with my family to an Italian-style restaurant, says One World, in Clark. Ordered pasta and asked the waiter if I could have it al dente. The waiter looked at me and said, I'm sorry, sir, this is not available. Instead of asking this person what al dente meant, they simply say not available. Automatic guest says, I had some friends visiting for a week. They stayed a few nights in Darwin, then we headed to Mole Bowl. So arranged for the property manager from our old flat to take us to the ferry. When we turned up, he was running around because there was a water leak, so none of the 7 properties had water, so couldn't take us. Him and my girlfriend left on her bike without telling me where they were going. 10 minutes later, a jeepney turns up. Okay, cool, that's fine. We drive 5 minutes to pick up our friends, and the steering completely goes. Driver and girlfriend drive off to another bike and come back with a second jeepney. Haha. We made the ferry, but it was funny going through 3 vehicles to get there. Yes, funny, but inconvenient for those that don't understand. The Philippines is not a place that's convenient for transportation. Bottom Burp says, my kid dropped a straw in Burger King, and because the floor is dirty, I asked the worker for another. Sorry, sir, can only get a straw if you buy another dessert. Kid insisted he wanted a straw because his teeth hurt. Ended up buying another dessert. All in the name of environmental protection policies. Outside the Burger King is smoke-belching jeepneys and mountains of garbage. Precisely. But to be fair, that concept is in every country around the world. They pretend like it's something to do with the environment, but simply want to take all your money or as much of it as possible. So the Philippines is no different than that. Now, it is time for my favorite comment. BJSR says, an unknown semi-attractive woman sat next to me and asked me for 15,000 pesos. Not exchange for anything, just give it to her. Yes, and that summarizes your whole experience in the Philippines. What can you do for other people? What can you give them? What can you give them without them doing anything in return? That's the entire experience. And if you cannot give them anything, they will simply scam you, or at least attempt to scam you. You can write your only in the Philippines moments beneath this video in the comment area. The best comment from yesterday is from Bucky. The only thing you can fully trust in the Philippines is that you can't trust anyone. There is no worse comment from that video. Thanks for listening. God bless.